everyone, welcome back to Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? The show where we dive into the big ideas that shape the world and challenge whether they stand the test of time. I'm your host, Jeff, and today we've got something really special for you. We're taking a deep dive into one of the most influential figures in the world of libertarian thought. The one, the only, the legendary Milton Friedman. Now, if you've ever heard the term free markets or individual liberty tossed around, you can probably trace the roots of these ideas straight back to this man. So if you ever wondered how libertarians see the world and why we're so passionate about personal freedom and limited government, this episode is for you. Milton Friedman was more than just an economist. He was a true champion of liberty, an outspoken critic of government overreach, and in many ways, the intellectual father of modern libertarianism. But what exactly did he contribute to libertarian thought? And why do his ideas still matter today? Now, let's break this down. Born in 1912, Milton Friedman went to college during the middle of the Great Depression in 1932, and there's a lot of economic turmoil. And many ideas that government intervention could solve society were all the rage. But Friedman wasn't convinced. He believed that government often made things worse, not better. Look at the recession we had in 1937 inside the Great Depression. Instead of relying on centralized control, he championed the idea that free markets were the best way to foster innovation, growth, and individual freedom. But he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. Through his groundbreaking work in 1962, Capitalism and Freedom, Friedman laid the foundation for a new era of economic thought. He argued that economic freedom was the cornerstone of political freedom. In other words, when individuals are free to make their own choices in the marketplace, they're also free to live their lives as they see fit without government interference. This idea struck a chord with libertarians everywhere, and for good reason. He was also awarded the Nobel Prize in 1976 as well for economics. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. One of the key contributions Friedman made was his advocacy for voluntary exchange. He argued that when individuals trade freely in the marketplace, both parties benefit. It's not a zero-sum game, and no one is coerced. This is the essence of libertarian thought, that all interactions, whether economic or social, should be voluntary and based on mutual consent. The left ought to love that word consent. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Jeff, what about the role of government? Shouldn't it play some role in regulating things, protecting us from bad actors, and ensuring fairness? That's a great question. And here's where Friedman's insights were revolutionary. He believed that the role of government should be limited to only a few core functions: protecting individual rights, enforcing contracts, and ensuring national security. Beyond that, government intervention should be minimal. And that, my friends, is one of the core tenets of libertarianism, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Friedman was also a staunch critic of the welfare state, just like Thomas Sowell was, believing that government programs like Social Security and welfare actually created dependency and hindered individual responsibilities. Instead, he advocated for a negative income tax, a system where the government would help those in need, but in a way that incentivized people to work and take responsibility for their own lives. And we need to start taking responsibility for our own lives. We're responsible for us. This wasn't about leaving people to fend for themselves. It was about empowering individuals to rise above their circumstances by removing the barriers that kept them trapped in poverty. Government programs. And now let's not forget his work on monetary policy. In the 1970s, Friedman was a key voice in challenging the idea that the government could manage the economy by controlling the money supply. He famously argued that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. In other words, if the government prints too much money, it devalues the currency and causes inflation. He advocated for a steady, predictable increase in the money supply, also called M1, which would allow for economic stability and growth without the chaos of inflation. We could all learn from this at this day and age. This was groundbreaking stuff, and many of his ideas were implemented in the years following his research, especially during the Reagan and Thatcher administration in England. The results, well, they weren't perfect, but they sure showed that giving people more freedom to manage their own resources rather than relying on a bloated government worked in many cases. Friedman didn't just write about his ideas like some people like Marx did. He lived them. He was a fierce advocate for school choice, pushing for the introduction of vouchers that would allow parents to send their children to the school of their choice rather than being forced into underperforming schools. I disagree with him here, and I did a video on school choice. His advocacy for choice, competition, and individual responsibility laid the groundwork for much of today's education reform debate. So what can we take away from the great Milton Friedman's contributions to libertarian thought? First and foremost, it's this: freedom works. I don't know how many times I have to say it, freedom works. The more we trust individuals to make their own decisions, the better society as a whole can function. And that's not just an economic principle, it's a moral one. The idea that people have the right to live their lives as they see fit without interference from the state is at the core of what it means to be free. Friedman's work continues to influence libertarian economists and policymakers around the world. Look at Argentina, Chile. But it's up to us to carry that torch forward, whether it's advocating for free markets, limited government, individual rights. The legacy of Milton Friedman is one that can never be forgotten. So do you think you are smarter than a libertarian now? Maybe, maybe not, but hopefully you've learned a little bit more about the powerful ideas that drive libertarian thought. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to leave us a comment. I will respond to all comments personally. I'd love to hear what you think about Milton Friedman's ideas and how you think they've shaped the world we live in today. And remember, new videos drop every day. Until tomorrow, stay free, stay informed, and stay accountable. Tomorrow's video will be on Karl Marx.
Ride the beat when you rock the mic. Put your foot on the gas and eat a red light. Ride the beat when you rock the